Men of Reddit, what was the worst thing that happened when you approached a girl? How did it affect you? We had talked online and she sounded interested. We met and things were lukewarm, but I thought maybe just nerves. We talk a bit and go our separate ways. I talk to her that night and she says there's a problem. I ask what? She says, you are not attractive. We had talked a few times before. I went up and took my shot. She walked away without saying anything. Whatever, it stung, but LD live. Wasn't the worst rejection LD ever had. That changed when one of her friends later approached me in the middle of a large group of people and loudly declared that she had been told to tell me that the girl said no and would never have any interest in me. Just like, I got it well enough when you just walked away. Was the added humiliation necessary? Met a girl in my class in college. We hung out a bunch, flirted, talked about what each other were looking for in a partner/relationship, where she essentially described me and said she wanted a serious relationship and couldn't bring herself to fool around or have FWBs. A mutual female friend told me that they had a conversation where the girl told our friend she was interested in me. The weekend after that specific conversation happened, we spent a night out together, ending with her sitting on my lap in my truck in her driveway for around 20 minutes before she went inside. A week or two later she went back home to her parents' place, a 2-hour drive away. She invited me to come see her and hang out in the hot tub while she had the place to herself. While in the hot tub, the conversation was very flirty, and led to me making a comment about me wanting to date her. Her response was ew while she tried to distance herself as much as possible, while trying to cover herself up. I have yet to ever experience a mindfuck of the like since. Was in a relationship in which loved her very much for 7 years before getting married for a year and a half before she left me for someone she says she loved since before we were married. I'm still dealing with feelings. It's been 6 months. How dare you? Really fucked up my self-confidence and just assume women hate when I show interest. I was talking to a girl in a club once, went well, lots of flirting, made out a little. Left the club together and started towards her place. Saw me in better light and said you know and walked back into the club. After talking a while, she called me autistic and said how it was a massive red flag that I have never been in a relationship. In hindsight I shouldn't have revealed that information, but I usually try not to beat around the bush when it comes to the topic. That was probably what she interpreted as autistic along with the nerdy stuff I like, but she asked me what I like, and it wasn't like I gave her an uninvited monologue or something. How did it affect me? Well, I was pretty down for about a week and it made opening up to women and being myself even harder. It feels so bad to be diagnosed like that. Even if it could be true and I have thought about it myself, nobody has the right to do that. I approached my crush in high school. I gathered courage for around 2 years to do so. Then, I eventually asked her out. She said, no, you. So, I think I don't care about that anymore, but it left a scar for sure. Asked a girl out and had her laugh in my face and told me she'd never date an Asian guy. Later heard her talking to her friend about how dare a chink ask her out. I've also been told by another girl's parents that they'd never let their daughter with an Asian like me. Both those experiences really messed with me and I have a lot of issues putting myself out there because I am scared that will happen again. Met someone at an event and within about an hour, I knew she was into me. I asked her out, she said yes and we swapped numbers, then we ended up making out most of the night. We went our separate ways, but before I left, she said make sure you message me tomorrow, and I was like, yeah of course I will. I stuck to my word, but she never replied. It sucked because she was really hot and seemed to be really into me. I think I've got better with rejection, but having my hopes raised then dashed isn't a nice feeling. I don't know if it counts because it was online, but I'll tell you anyway. I super liked a girl on Tinder and we matched. Then I said, I guess it's my lucky day. Then she immediately replied with, but mine isn't. And unmatched right after. I felt like trash. Told a girl in intermediate I liked her, she cried and told me she'd never talk to me again. Fun times. You're like my little brother on a first date. Kinda, because I made her laugh a bunch. Then she complained about her abusive ex the whole time. I almost got knocked out and kicked out of the club XD. Context: I was at a disco with my friends and close to me I saw a girl that was giving like help me IOX, saw the guy that was dancing with her pretty much harassing her / throwing himself over her and she was clearly uncomfortable. So my moral warning light up even while being drunk. Looked at her eyes sort of to reconfirm that it wasn't the alcohol playing tricks on me and decided to step in and dance with her so the other dude would back off. Came in like a champ, pretending we were longtime friends, hugs and all, told her that we should catch up at the bar and when I was going to grab her hand to get away from the harassing dude, I turned back and saw the fist in direct collision course to my face, managed to actually think this is going to hurt before blacking out for a couple of seconds. Security thought I started the fight and kicked me out. She came out to explain them what happened. She got me back and invited me to a drink, thanked me for stepping in. We hung out for only that drink and parted ways. How it affected me: I actually started to pay more attention to body language overall and call out those behaviors. And fortunately nothing more than a sore nose and jaw for a couple of days. I didn't approach but a girl asked me out as a joke in grade 9. So funny. She says, "Aren't you like a kid?" As she's 3 years younger than me. Babyface cries slowly. Approaching a girl at a bar, she slowly turns to her friends and they burst out laughing. You don't realize how much it takes to work up the courage to approach someone. My high school crush was at a party and we were all out in the hot tub. I was fat but so was she, albeit not as much. When I finally made an attempt to hit on her she said, "You look at that," publicly and loudly. I was allowed to go out past curfew once a month and that was my night. I went home early and had to deal with my dad asking why I was home way before I said would be. Not life-altering I guess, but I tried to talk to a girl. All I got to say was hi, could L, and she very angrily says, "Get the fuck away from me, you fucking asshole." I just replied with, "Well, that was rude," and walked away. Never did figure out who she was or why she was so snappy, lol. I was about 12. It was maybe the third girl I had asked out in my life. First 2 girls were gentle no's. She was someone L grew up with. Small town. My mates thought she liked me too and hyped me up for it. So L asked her out when we were on the bus to school, and she screamed. Not a happy scream but a scream of repulsion. Took me years to have the confidence to ask someone else out again but felt like this moment stunted me for about a decade, and I thought I was unattractive until maybe 2 years ago, now 26. Welp. I don't expect much sympathy for this, but growing up I was a good-looking, some think very good-looking, dude without an ounce of confidence. So LD find myself in situations where LD gets signals from somebody to come over and chat them up, and sometimes I would get up the nerve to do so, only to be hit by that instant look of disappointment, like they've just tasted sour milk. They were expecting somebody suave to go with the looks guess. Again and again. The look is burned into my soul. Alright, this is gonna be a long one. First year of high school, one girl in my class was the prettiest being I have ever encountered, my one and only love at first strike. I was extremely shy as a child. I got into a fight with a girl's juiced up jealous boyfriend. Ended up getting 8 stitches, he hit me in the head with a weight. We were at Gold's Gym. Funny thing is I only approached her for my shy ass friend, he wanted her number. I had a girl at the time. On a good note, my friend and I tackled him, put him in a hold, the cops were called, he was arrested, banned from the gym, went to court, he paid for my medical bill and they charged him with assault, he pulled a few months. My friend fucked his girl and I got 8 fucking stitches. My only girlfriend during high school lived 30 miles away. We met online, which was super uncommon in the days of dial-up internet. I was super shy and socially awkward as a teenager. The only girl at my school that I tried to date was this brunette who sat behind me in sophomore year English class. She'd initiate conversations and laugh at my dumbass jokes, so I assumed she might be interested. She wasn't, and I still remember her telling me no in front of a bunch of kids. and trying to set me up with her friend who also wasn't interested in me. Needless to say, I didn't go to senior prom and hated high school in general. This was like, I don't know, 1995 to 1997 or so. A friend of mine tried to hook me up with this girl. When I went to her house to meet her, she was nice and all, but I just was not sure if anything would happen between us. I got home and a guy called me to say that he was going to date her. So much for that. Now girls just say, "Sorry, I am taken." Went on a date with a girl who had a bit of weight on. This is relevant to the story, but I don't judge as I've got a few self-conscious body issues myself. But anyway, she seemed pretty cool and we had similar interests, etc. Date's going well, we end having sex and the night ends well. I'm saged her, over Snap, the day after, saying something like, "Hey, had fun, would you be interested in catching up again?" She screenshots the chat. Then responds with, "No, not really interested in seeing you again." Screenshot. I say in response, "Alright, no worries, any reason why?" Screenshot, "You're too skinny and I'm not interested." Screenshot, and then blocks me. Wasn't unhappy with the result purely because I didn't pass judgment and was presented with her real character very quickly. Dodge a bullet there. I've now been in a strong relationship for 2 years and am very happy with my soon-to-be fiancé. A girl I liked at high school, I would dare to say my first time falling in love. It was in the first year. We talked constantly for a few months, then I got what understood as a big hint from her to ask her out, so I finally got my courage and asked her out. She said yes. I was ecstatic. At the end of the date, I decided I would confess my feelings for her, and I wasn't expecting that, and I didn't know this was supposed to be a date. After that we talked it out and decided we should stay friends, but instead of asking for some space for a while to process it, I foolishly agreed, which got me into over a half of a year of hell, not being able to move on because we were still talking all the time, hoping she might eventually change her opinion, which I now know was a bullshit. But tell that to my 16-year-old self, spiced up with a decent amount of self-loathing and bitterness from my side before I finally moved on. I felt so terrible at the time that I swore to never go through it again. Unluckily, I have never dared to approach a girl after that. I didn't approach her, actually I didn't want to. But my friend who I was with goes, "Hey, my friend here is single." I hate when people do that, BTW. She goes, "No thanks, and your friend is ugly." Was 18 at the time and 135 pounds soaking wet, early 30s now, and have since filled out and had multiple relationships, hookups, and random encounters, yet reliving that still stings me and makes me question if it's still true. Be careful what you say to someone, especially about their looks. You never know how much it can impact them. I don't know really. There are a few. I struck a fine balance between what seemed first date psychos or just struck out. For the most part, LD say it made it harder for me to approach girls and often made me question how people end up this way. Told her I liked her, got an odd response, not a bad one, just not feelings mutual, felt like an idiot, heavily emphasized, and more or less choose to never pursue anyone again, wrecked my already low self-esteem. That's okay though, I feel like I'm actually doing better in my life than I would be. Cut a lot of the filler from my life. I remember one day I was getting off work, construction, in my work gear and saw this woman walk by the bus stop and a small book fell out her pocket. Me, "Excuse me, you." Her cutting me off mid-sentence, "I'm sorry, I don't have any spare change." Me, few seconds of confusion, "Oh, that's fine, have a good day." Should have at least had the decency of hearing what'll have to say. Turns out it was her personal journal and filled with her thoughts and feelings on life. I now know more about that random stranger than my own friends. The first girl I asked out laughed at me, and I have a 100% ghost rate for every date I've set up. And I overheard my female friends rate me as the most unattractive person in our friend group. I fucking hate my life. P.S. I know I'm ugly and worthless, I just wish I didn't have this need for romantic companionship. Was at a summer camp with a group from my high school. A super cute semi-popular girl I had crushed on since elementary was part of the group that went. On the dance night I decided I would make my move and ask her to dance. She awkwardly looked around before grabbing some random dude and danced with him instead. Really fucked with my confidence for a few years when it came to approaching women. Ultimately I got the last laugh, finding the love of my life in college, and now have the family and life I always envisioned. She peaked in high school, looks 20 years older than she is, and is still single 15 years later. Fuck you, Katie.